Welcome back to On the Chain, here with Jeff and co-host Chip. You guys know who we are right here. Today, we're cutting straight through the noise, straight through the bullshit. While markets feel messy and politics feel exposed, XRP is quietly locking into place. That's right. ETFs, institutional DeFi, the RLUSD, real settlement rails, and this isn't just hype. This is actual infrastructure being built.
Yeah, and that's contrast matters. On one side, you got systems being built for efficiency, transparency, and global settlement. On the other side, you got politicians, corruption, and centralized power trying to hold control as trust erodes.
And well, today we're breaking down the return of XRP utility, Ripple's institutional DeFi roadmap, what the data actually says, and why Brad Garlinghouse keeps emphasizing mindset during moments like this. Man, it's the trials and tribulations.
Yeah, and then this episode isn't just about price candles, which is always fun, but that's not something we pay attention to. It's about who's building, who's breaking, and where the power is really shifting to.
That's right. XRP is locking in, so let's get into it.
Let's go. Hey. Guys, where are you coming in from today? Is anybody up today? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Good times. Come on.
Where you are. Hawthorne, Florida, Art on the Lake is in the house early morning. First one in. Get the star. Get the gold star, Art. Art with the star. With the gold star. And here we are, like, my gosh, the Olympics started, and you can always count on a bunch of woke morons to by the way, I titled the videos today Retard 1 and Retard 2. I was trying to disseminate between them. I'm like, let's just call it what it is, okay? Let's not get too crazy with that. Because you always, we are on time. It screwed everybody up.
Marathon, Florida. There you go.
Marathon, all right. Did you notice Marathon, Florida has a marathon runner? Did you see that?
Oh, wait. Go look at that. A marathon runner in Marathon, Florida.
Cincy, all right. Cincy in the house.
Buenos dias from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Puerto Rico. What do you think about Bad Bunny? But isn't Bad Bunny from Puerto Rico?
Yeah, I think.
I don't know, man. I know so many cool people from Puerto Rico. Bad Bunny's not one of them, unfortunately, though. But yeah, we got friends from Puerto Rico. They're awesome, and I mean, I've always met great people from Puerto Rico. And unfortunately, man, I don't know what's up with the Super Bowl thing, but a lot of people aren't really that happy about it. What was funny, Jeff, is they went around the Sunday the Super Bowl's taking place, so they went around the guy in the street. He's like, "Tell me your favorite Bad Bunny song." He goes, "I don't know who that is." It's like nobody knew who he was. Name your favorite song. I don't know. Nobody could tell you a favorite song. And it's like you could pick almost any performer, and somebody would probably know one of their songs, right? I mean, who knows? And everyone's like, I don't know. Nobody knows. And Robert Kraft, who owns the Patriots, who are in the Super Bowl. There you go. He actually came out and said that he wanted, he put a petition to get rid of this guy, because the whole thing is like, they're almost doing it for more of an international audience. It's an American game, and it's broadcast. I mean, it's got worldwide viewership. I get it, but
still,
they're having
somebody good. Pick somebody normal.
Yeah, or pick one or two
normal people.
Yeah, it's just like, I just don't like somebody who says they refuse to stand up for the national anthem. Okay, you shouldn't be doing the halftime show.
Exactly.
Pastime,
national pastime. Exactly.
You're not. It's somebody who's wearing dresses it's just dumb. And singing in Spanish, and almost refuse to ever speak English. And it's like, come on, man. Listen, you grew up in Puerto Rico. Everyone speaks English there. Puerto Rico's been put to them if they want to become a state. They don't want to become a state. They don't want to pay taxes, but they want all the advantages of U.S. money and everything else. They just don't want to. They don't want to have that sort of burden. So it's really just a territory. It's not a state or anything.
Atlanta,
Georgia.
So, Chip, I'll tell you, the problem with this, the woke mindset, and I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek or watched Star Trek in the past, but I always enjoyed watching that show. Both my parents were Trekkies, so it kind of was like natural. You know, they always talked about it. This new show that they have for Star Trek destroyed the entire franchise. And it's called Star Trek Academy. I tried watching it.
Oh, dude, why would you even try watching it? I watched 2 clips and I'm like, I'm out.
It was so bad. It's the worst production ever made in the history of any kind of production that could destroy a franchise to the point, right? The Star Trek, the Klingon, not just that the Klingon's gay, which is completely out of, like, if you look at Klingons as a whole, right, it doesn't even fit into their whole like lexicon, right? And this guy, this last episode, he comes out in a dress holding a purse. I'm like, well, first of all, you're talking about histories of a show where not one character has had a purse, not one character has ever wore a dress, and now you're going to do that and destroy the entire. It's amazing how these woke people have. They're insane, and they've destroyed everything. Anything they touch turns to shit. And this is the last thing the entire franchise is dead. I don't, and it's amazing. And they're trying to do it to football. That's the point. They're bringing this nonsense in. And so how can it even, these people are just deranged. They're deranged lunatics. I don't think people will ever watch Star Trek again after that. I think everything's done. That's it. Why would anybody go back and watch something? Not just the new ones, but even the old ones. And they just kind of ruin it because you can't get it out of your brain. It's so stupid. These people are dumb. And they're trying to ruin football, and we can't let them ruin football. The fact that they let this guy in there is a travesty. The fact that there's even Grammys and we let these actors and these celebrities continuously, do circle jerks and congratulate themselves with awards is so fucking stupid too.
It's just really sad. I mean, the funny thing is William Shatner, who's 94 years old, by the way, and he just came out with a really funny commercial, but he's 94 and he spoke out about it. He's like, apparently they haven't cured obesity, even though you can take, there's things you can take now,
now,
like
right.
tirzepatide and, there's all kinds of stuff that you can take now, but apparently in the future, they don't have a cure for it. Apparently, and then someone's putting glasses on. Why would you wear glasses?
Right, yeah, now there's glasses. Exactly.
Jeff, I mean, like I used to wear contacts and I've had both of my lenses replaced. I see perfect, like better than I ever have in like 30 years. So I had both of my lenses replaced and I've got the most advanced ones. There's like 3 levels you can get, and I got the most advanced one. It costs money, but I can see close, I can see mid, I can see far. It's
awesome.
It's just unbelievable technology that I've never been able to even correct my vision. My brother has been telling me for 5 years, he goes, dude, you got to get this. It's the most amazing thing. And I just will stare at trees and I'll just look. I can see every twig and branch. It's like I've never seen that well before. And I'm like, this is 2025, 2026. This technology started coming around right in the mid 2014, 2015. And then, now you've got some more options on the market. And yet in the future, they haven't figured. So just the one thing that Star Trek was really good at was trying to guess what would happen in the future, like how things might be, right? So, you could go into the, with AI and stuff, you could go into the, what was that room they would go into, that simulator room? What was that called? The holodeck.
The holodeck.
And you could just like, boom, everything, just like you could walk around like that was something you go like, oh, I can see that happening. You just ask for anything and it materializes. And
a lot of technology from Star Trek.
But meanwhile, they're going back in time with like, and the funny thing about it's a disgrace to the Klingons because the Klingons were very masculine, overly masculine. They wouldn't even mate with females because they said the females were human females were too fragile. Like they were, this is the kind of like mindset. And so out of all the people you had to pick, you picked the Klingon. It's just a disgrace to the whole ecosystem of Star Trek. And it's just pretty sad because two people that didn't get the memo was the Star Trek people, and it's getting crushed on the ratings and nobody's watching it. And also with Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, they're asking him, and the players don't want it. Everyone said that don't watch it. There's going to be the biggest mass exit at Turning Point, which is Charlie Kirk's old company, is doing their own halftime show with Kid Rock and some country people.
Yeah, everyone's tuning out of whatever channel this shit's on, and they're all going to go to that. And
all the bars in the South are changing. They're flipping over. So when the halftime comes on, they're flipping over to the Kid Rock thing, and it's going to be massive.
It's going to be awesome, man. It's that's right. Yep.
There you go.
Hollywood is dying. Everything is dying, which is great. This Bruce brought up Klinger, from MASH,
Yeah.
was in a dress, and that was like so different. Yeah, that was okay because he was trying to get out of
Right.
the military by proving that he wasn't normal.
Right.
That
It
he
was
was
over the
insane.
top. Yeah, it
That
was
it
over
was
the
over the
top.
top.
And
And it
the
was like
joke was that
completely
he wasn't gay, and the joke was
Right.
he was pretending to be gay, and he wasn't very good at it, right? So
Right, yeah.
by him throwing on dresses and lipstick and all that stuff, it was ridiculous. And
Yeah,
you
and
look
the
at
other
Archie.
thing I noticed Oh, go ahead.
No, say you look at Archie Bunker. So, buddy sent me a clip,
Yep.
and he's like, you had the kid, the one that played Meathead, the one that just recently passed away. He's in the clip, and he was all excited because he opened up a gift, and he looked in the gift, and you know what it was? It was a man purse. It was like 1974 or 55. And he put it on. And Archie Bunker's like, a purse? He goes, he said, he said, called him a fag fruit. That's what he called him. He said, you're an FAG fruit. Like that was just commonplace. You could say anything on TV back then. Nobody cared. It wasn't until, I think Obama's the one to come in and start talking about race and people and separation and all this stuff. Before that, people were just taking each other on who they were. If you're a jerk, you're a jerk. No one made it about skin color or religion or any of this stuff. You were either accepted on your own merit or you weren't. It's like going back to MLK. It's like, content of your character. Like you either had it or you didn't. But then all of a sudden, that the separation. This is what you do when you try to take over. You try to separate people, try to separate them on race, try to separate them on politics, separate them on all these things, Jeff. And it's time to say no. And these people need to get the woke memo. They need to be crushed. They need to be called out everywhere we can. No, they learned not. No, this is dude. That is the best point right there. They learned nothing.
Nothing.
Remember, she just
learned nothing.
Remember, she destroyed that. Oh, dude, that was
Star Wars also destroyed. Star Wars is done.
I saw some clips from that. It was unwatchable, and not only that, but even the acting was bad, dude. It was bad. The storylines were bad. Everything. There was nothing redeemable. He's like, well, at least the acting was pretty good. No, it was horrible.
Nothing.
I couldn't even get through clips that people posted. That's how bad it was. I couldn't even watch it.
Then there's Life of Brian, which is a classic, where all the women they were the men characters dressed up as
yeah. Remember when everybody comes in, he says, "I want to be a woman." They start laughing. I mean, you think it's the most preposterous thing? It's goofy.
Yeah.
No, it's just commonplace.
Stan? Why would you want us to call you Loretta?
Nothing would ever hold up better than that of all things. Yeah, it's just unbelievable, the whole Star Wars thing. And like after that crucifixion, man, and after dying a horrible death and just a horrible series, you would think that somebody would say, I wonder if we shouldn't do that. After seeing Bud Light 2.5, almost 3 years later, still crushed, never came back. People banned it for life and said, I'm not drinking anymore. Now they're coming back on the Super Bowl with some good commercials. But is it too late? It's like, we already know. It's like you pulled this. Who cares about this woke garbage? People don't want it. They don't care about it. They don't want it. I mean, I just don't understand perpetuating that on the entire population is thinking this is a good thing. It's like, you even see groups coming out about, people that, groups of gay men and women coming out and saying, stop sexualizing kids, stop doing it. We're against this. Stop, when kids aren't old enough or brains not formed to make decisions. Now you have all these people who transformed or did, whatever, cut off body parts. They're scarred for life. Their mental state is horrible. They're never going to be able to experience that sort of world because they have nothing. And again, because they put faith and trust in doctors and parents, and telling them that, you can just choose your this stuff and not calling it out. I've gotten into heated arguments. I'm like, you don't choose that, and even on X, I've gotten into it with some people out there that are just nuts. They're like, no, gender is different than sex. I'm like, no, it's not. There's mental illness that needs to be treated, and then there's your either XX or XY chromosomes. That's it. There is nothing else. So I'm just happy, when Trump came back in the White House, it became okay to start saying this stuff again. But everybody should get the memo.
That's right. Nothing.
I don't either, because I call it headache in a can or a bottle. Halfway through, a massive headache kicks in. Sometimes I've been nice to go over to someone's house and wanted something to beer. I'm like, I'm not going to be a dick. I'm like, okay. Halfway through it, the intense headache, and I've asked this of people. People are like, oh my God, you're right. You have one of those beers and you just get this massive headache. I don't know what they have in there, but I'm drinking it. And I'm like, it doesn't taste good. It's bad beer. I don't know how it ever got to be this sort of in beer. I've never drank it and I've never enjoyed it.
I've never liked it. No, can't.
I'll drink Coors Light. That's about it. That's if I'm going to drink a light beer, I'll drink a Coors Light. I'll drink maybe a Mick, light or something like that. But I will not even touch Bud Light's like the worst beer ever, man. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. It gives you a headache. Like you don't even have to finish a whole can of that stuff, and it's bad, Jeff. Anyway, enough banter. We got to get on with this show. Let's talk. It's
20 minutes in.
It's funny. It's like someone asked me the other day, "What's your podcast about?" I'm like, "You ever watch Seinfeld?" They're like, yeah. I go, "Remember they used to call it a show about nothing?" That's what our podcast is about. It's about anybody that says something in the comments and then boom, off to the races, right? I said, well, it's supposed to be about
crypto and geopolitics.
But we kind of get off on tangents, which is okay.
Sam Adams is good.
Sam Adams is all right.
But I think Sam Adams and Bud, they're all owned by the same.
I think they are, yeah.
The same company.
Well, Sam Adams, what's the one they put out? What's the one they put out in the fall? That one is a good one. They only released it in the fall. That's a good one.
Look at this.
A warlord death cult to genocide. I like this one. Now we're talking right here. It is a death cult. Absolutely. We'll get into that as well. We'll jump through that. So that's a great name. Right. Is that somebody we know that changed their handle, or is that somebody new coming in? Because
I don't know.
That's okay, Poker Mo. We're going to cut you a pass. As long as you're here, you made it. That's all that cares. A chickpea is neither a chick nor a pea.
That's
a chickpea is neither a chick or and what's with the socks? Freaking Seinfeld. There's a clip that's been recirculating about some outtakes of the Seinfeld show.
Danny, what is up?
And it is
good
so
to see you on, Danny. I know Danny.
All right, cool. Jeff, Danny here. Beautiful. Yep. I love the name. The name is spot on, man. All right, good. I figured we knew you, so we knew who you were. But anyway, let's jump into some crypto news. We'll get into some geopolitics stuff later. CoinDesk doesn't really cover Ripple or what's going on, but they put out this post just in Ripple outlines institutional DeFi blueprint for the XRPL with compliance-focused infrastructure, positioning XRP as settlement and a bridge asset. So, this is kind of cool that it's getting some notoriety out there. And they put up this article here, XRP at the center, as Ripple lays out this whole thing. And we're not going to jump into the whole article, but some of the finer points that they discuss in here. We'll talk about Ripple as well. But Jeff, you want to run through these some of these kind of key points right here?
Yeah, I think these are pretty solid. There's so much going on right now that we really have to dig into, look at this technology. So here we go. Ripple and XRPL contributors are positioning the XRP Ledger as an institutional DeFi platform by combining compliance-focused infrastructure with XRP's role as a settlement and bridge asset. Chip, tell me which other crypto asset and chain out there right now can do that?
There's probably one or two that could come pretty close. But I think where they're falling short is the whole compliance side. And I think when you're talking about institutional, you might have elements of this with some, like for example, like with Sui with doing settlement, like they've almost built a better chain in some regards. But what Ripple brings to it is this whole institutional side of it. And when you're going institutional, one thing you better be sure of, you better be sure it's compliant. And that's one of the key things of positioning this really for a much larger audience across the board. And with the latest acquisitions Ripple's done too, they've really sort of locked this up. And I think that's kind of what separates them from the pack.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's really a big deal. We need that clear separation, the focus on institution, and also the fact that they've been doing it, pretty succinctly. But the XRPL on its own has so much tech that can be built on. And that's what's kind of that missed element, is that we don't see enough development focused on, okay, here's the power of the XRPL and let's start, putting some money into it. And I would say that's from the XRP community at large. That's what I would like to see. We have all these cool things going on, but then you see a lot of Ripple-esque, news that comes out. And then I see other projects that are trying to build on the XRPL that continuously keep getting crushed, that are trying to bootstrap, on their own. And it's really difficult. So here we go. New and upcoming features, including permission domains, credential-based access, privacy-preserving transfers, and the XLS 65/66 lending protocol are designed to meet regulatory and risk management requirements for on-chain credit and payments. And that's a big step forward also. So now you have the actual tech specific in and around not just the movement of money, but how are they going to be gaining during that period of time for it? But then look at this, privacy preserving transfers. That's really important, And so if you're going to do anything, and let's say you take this and put it as a parallel to a stable coin, we need privacy. If we're going to start moving steadily away from fiat, which so many people are pushing for that movement away from fiat, right? It doesn't happen until there's full privacy in transaction, whether it's with an RLUSD or a platform you work with.
Yeah, 100%. We'll jump into this. We'll kind of deep dive some of these a little bit, just to kind of let you know a little more about what these do coming up here.
Yep. And this last one here, Chip, the EVM sidechain bridged via Axelar aims to attract Solidity developers by offering familiar tooling while tapping XRPL's liquidity, identity features, and XRP's utility and collateral, reserves, and fee-driven burn mechanics. And this is impressive.
Yeah, I think it's and also what you're seeing here is bringing it to a wider audience. It's a necessary, right? You have to be able to bring it to this a much larger audience, because the thing with Solidity, when you're dealing with like smart contracts and really Solidity, most of it you're seeing a lot of stuff happening on Ethereum. And one of the things that Ripple made a good choice on doing was like, hey, okay, great. Instead of trying to tell people to come over here and use RLUSD on the XRPL, they said, let's meet you where you are. We made it available for Ethereum. So again, going cross-chain, being interoperable, going across, you can have people go on the XRPL, but it was a very smart move for them to make it available on Ethereum. Now you have, Solidity, which is just, a public open, programming language. But again, dealing with smart contracts, really huge on Ethereum. Bringing that into it, man, it's just a huge thing. These are good choices to get it to the masses. Ripple X put this out. They said the institutional DeFi roadmap details how the XRP Ledger is advancing towards everyday institutional use. And really, what they're trying to emphasize here is that XRP is at the center of the settlement, because people are always like, well, how's XRP going to be used in the equation? It always comes down to settlement. You've heard Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, talk about this ad nauseum, where he goes on and says, look, XRP is always going to be at the center of it. Not only settlement, but the effects, the collateral and on-chain credit. And so they put out a blog post about like what's live, what's coming down the pike, and how developers can really build towards a compliant financial workflow behind the scenes without actually adding any sort of complexity for users. And this year's areas of focus are lending, which Jeff touched on, the privacy and the permission on-chain markets. And then diving into that here, you can see a little bit of that here. Unfortunately, I can't make that bigger, but let's see if I can just do this here. Let's do that. Yeah, there we go. So XRP utility growing across payments, liquidity, and that's what we really want, right? You need to be having XRP a lot more involved in this. And then they kind of jump into some of the XRP utility across the system. And again, what do we always talk about here, Jeff? We always talk about utility, right? Solving problems, real problems happening at the heart of every institutional case is XRP. It impacts the spans both the direct and indirect roles. And so here, how does it work with payment and effects? Obviously, fast, compliant, liquid. The permission domains enable regulated environments where access is controlled via credentials. This could be, know your customer, anti-money laundering tools. So this is what these permission domains are going to be really key, especially when dealing with institutional. it's a must. The
Needed,
permissioned decentralized exchange builds on this by gating secondary markets for effects and stablecoins, and finally stablecoins and XRPL, RLUSD, and other assets, and how they settle on the XRPL. So
and we want that settlement too, Chip. I think that's a big part of this whole technology, is that we're moving into a point where we can get institutional settlement from what 2, 3 to 5 day settlement periods down to instant. If we have instant settlement, it really changed the whole. It changes the transaction. Obviously, it changes how much of the extra manpower is required throughout the tracking process to monitor and whatever else they have to do. But it's also taken away a little bit of leverage that the current banking infrastructure has, because right now during that settlement period, somebody's holding that extra cash. There's other things that are going. There's that transactional period, and so you have the short-term loan. There's so there's all these things that are going on during that period of time, and I find that part interesting because from an individual perspective, some of the banks, whether it's Zelle or some of the others, if we're going over to bigger money movement, there's a realized access to funds in some instances. Not maybe the larger sums can still take time to come over, but it still doesn't go through full settlement. But we need full transparency. There was somebody that I work with. It was actually someone that he was working with directly up in I think he was in the New York area, and he had a transaction for like $350,000 more. And so what happened is that the person that purchased actually did a chargeback, and the goods had already been delivered. The goods were delivered, everything was there, verified, delivered. The person still did a chargeback and said that he didn't receive funds or didn't receive product. Does the chargeback, and there's an intermediary because they were using one of the finance software packages. I won't name them. You guys know who they are. They're one of the big ones. And so they're using them as the intermediary. They did a full clawback of the funds. Not only did they do a clawback of the funds from the seller, they gave all the funds back to the buyer. Now the buyer has product and funds, and it took him almost 2 months to get the funds reversed and clawed back again. I don't know the full instance, but at that point, the buyer could have shut down their account. They could have done anything, say, hey, I got my funds back, I got everything. But they normally, if they do a clawback, it goes to a third party and sits in escrow while the dispute goes. And this is where you have the broken part of the system, that you have big amounts of money. You still need some sort of a third party mechanism, escrow, but all that can be automated. You do it through the blockchain with full transparency. All parties know where it goes. And then if you have a dispute, hey, it gets pulled back into escrow. And that's something they're, looking at. If you look here based on like use case, right, we're looking at money. Well, here it's tokenized money market, high grade collateral. But here you have using the XRPL for issuance, escrow, delivery versus payment, and everything using XRPL, the XRP and the XRPL native technology. It's so important to our normal everyday, not just, we think about from the B2B, B2C, if it's big transaction, small transaction, and then we think about all these big moves that institutions are making, all of it without transparency right now. None of these transactions have any form of transparency. If you do a bank wire, ACH, I don't care, whatever you do, there's zero transparency. Once the funds are sent, nobody knows what happens in the interim. There's no notification as to here's where your funds are. Here's exactly when your funds are being received.
Yeah.
And now to understand that you can do a clawback like that and take all the funds just from the notification of a seller saying I didn't receive my good, and it doesn't go to an escrow, it goes right back to the buying party. The system's broken.
You know who the worst offender, just having to work in a scenario where processing lots of payments. Amex, you could send them like, because it was a scenario where people were logging in, they're paying for a monthly service. They logged in, they said they didn't use the service, never logged in once. You could send them 2 months of logins, dates, times, nothing. Never got it back. It was always like a war with Amex. Amex said you can just call them up and say, "Yeah, charge it back." Whatever. They'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Just on like a feeling like
A whim,
yeah,
yeah.
any reason, no reason, nothing. Just like boom, done. And then you sitting there messing around with Amex forever and a day. They were like the hardest ones of
Yeah.
all. But what I like about this, the way they've laid this blog post out, like you said, Jeff, is they're like giving you, this is the use case. Like what? Okay, this is what it is, but they give you a use case. Like so, asset managers deploying tokenized money market funds or high grade collateral use the XRPL for issuance, escrow, all the things that you start getting into, the credit and the financing piece of it. You know, they start putting all things together. The XLS 66 lending protocol, which enables fixed term underwritten loans with repayment automation, you know, single access vaults, SAVs, or pool capital. So all this stuff that's necessary for institution, you're like, okay, well, how does that work in the real world? Well, for example, Evernorth is actively preparing to utilize the lending protocol, which is at XLS 66, to generate institutional grade yield on its extensive XRP holdings. So when you have a treasury with XRP, you're at the Evernorth, now you can earn yield on that. So why wouldn't you? Why would you? And if you guys want to know why the market structure is being postponed and put off, people are like, oh, I can't believe it. It's actually a good thing because you got to try to get it as best position, because the banking cartel is who fuels mostly the Democrats, who are really against this for the most part because they put all the money in their campaigns, right? They fuel this. But what the banking cartel is upset about are the inflows and outflows, right? So look at this right here. You've got institutional, and who really uses the banks, right? You got the institutional money where you're saving millions, if not billions of dollars that are stored somewhere. Now you have someone like Evernorth saying, hey, look over here. We've got this way for you to earn yield. You can make a treasury. Not only will it go up and down, but on the treasury itself, you can earn yield. So this is what they don't want. The crux of the conversation, which Brian Armstrong rightfully spoke out about, and he became the villain in this whole thing, was the whole idea of RLUSD earning any kind of yield. Because what happens, like RLUSD is not held by the banks, but if the banks were smart, they would get into the game. Instead of trying to do things the legacy way, they would say, we'll embrace this technology, and we will say that you can, if you convert your fiat to RLUSD, we'll give you yield. And 0.5% interest yield on your fiat isn't cutting it. Now, if you can earn between 5 and 7, why wouldn't you do that? So this is the whole point. And this real world example is great. And I like this. To me, this is one of the better blog posts I've seen in a while, because they break it down into like understanding. Sometimes they get a little too technical, but when you talk about the whole purpose of this stuff, you can see the use case. Here's the feature. Here's the actual utility. We're not going to get into it all because there's a lot. But basically what's coming up is you have the MPT, which is that flexible token standard. And what this does is it can carry any sort of like essential metadata. Like when you're talking about dates, maturity dates, tranches, transfer restrictions, like there's a significant amount of utility that's on its way to the XRPL, and it's made for institutions. Now you have all these institutions using the suite of products that are all across these brand new, like G Treasury and all these acquisitions that they made. Permission domains, you can control access for on-chain compliance. You can allow markets to gate participation based on aforementioned credentials. Don't have the credentials. So this whole idea of being permissioned on the out, stuff is so necessary. To simulate, you can provide realistic previews of how transactions will behave under mainnet conditions. You can do all this without broadcasting or affecting any of the ledger stats. And this, again, necessary because, deep freeze. You can let token issuers prevent misuse by freezing account holders. Now, people have misconstrued this with XRP. It has nothing to do with this. This is if you issue your own token, you can set up the mechanism, right? And it's kind of like what you're talking about too. You can, any flagged addresses cannot send or receive. You got a bad actor, boom, you lock them out until the trust line's unfrozen, and then you can allow issuers to basically comply. If let's say you're dealing with sanctions or whatever that might be, you can deal with it on that. And then the side chain, which is powered by EXRP, bridged via Axelar. We talked a little bit about this, but having Solidity developers, they're learning anything new. They don't have to like switch to another language. They're already using Solidity. They're already developing on Ethereum. Now you have them being able to like, oh, here's something over here that's going to be this compliant feature. Great. They don't have to do anything different. And this is what I like. You got to meet people where they are. It's great to say like, oh, I've got this thing. All you have to do is use our language and use our thing and our protocol. No, you use Solidity. It's the same thing you've been developing with. So all this kind of ties in really nicely. It's a beautiful post. It's like you can do almost a whole show on breaking this thing down. But man, this is look at this, Jeff. Confidential transfers and MPTs. Confidential transfers enable institutional grade privacy. Do you want large orgs knowing, because I mean blockchain and stuff, knowing what they're moving back and forth and people tracking that? You have to encrypt transaction amounts, balances using zero knowledge proofs, and it allows these institutions basically to mobilize tokenized assets and manage risk positions. You have to be able to do that in a secured manner. You could also, at the same time, you can have selective disclosures, when it comes down to regulatory compliance or, audits that you would have. So this is a huge deal.
That's it. The other part, if you go back up to the MPT, just a descriptive of the MPT at the top, there's one important component to it, and that is the fact that all of this happens. You have the metadata, you have all the maturity dates, all this stuff is built in without relying on a complex smart contract. So it becomes, innate into the transaction, and it's within the standard. That's huge. So now, if you're able to do that, you're able to send that token with all of that built into it already. Man, I mean that's it. Really, it's changing the game. And one thing that Jim said, he said, loaning and borrowing goods should be a core human right, not a banking monopoly. I would say yes and no. I think that what we're seeing developing here is still a bank. I don't care how you look at it, whether it's AI driven or not AI driven. There's a third party institution that's going to allow you to loan and borrow. There's got to be a platform, whatever that platform might be. If it's Prosper, Prosper's taking a percentage when they do your transaction. Prosper allows you, as a P2P lending site, you can loan money and earn an interest. You can take higher risk or less risk. The point is, Prosper is still your bank, right? That's your loaning and borrowing platform. There's no scenario where you don't have that in society. I just don't believe that's going to happen on mass scale. If you want to, try to figure out how you're going to loan to an individual without a third party platform involved, whether it's going to go through blockchain or not, I just don't see how it doesn't exist. But to your point, it shouldn't just be the banks doing it. Let individuals be able to go through a platform, lesser restrictive measure, lesser penalty, because if we're lending, if you're taking your money right now, you put your money in the bank goes out and lends it. So that's where, I think, Jim's onto something there where, if you're putting your money and then only they can go out and lend your money. And now if you want to go and you're getting paid 0.5%, but I think now money market's like 3.5%. But what are they gaining on your money? How much money do they make off your money? And they're paying you 3.5% in a money market, or if it's less, if it's just sitting in a checking or savings account, they're making the bulk of it. And they're using your money to do it. All you've done, you're only guilty of trying to figure out how you work within the system and put your money someplace where you think it's safe. Then they run off and they take advantage of your money. And if you want to take your money out, say, hey, I want all my money. Well, maybe it's too much money. They don't have access to the funds. I want it in fiat. Nope, sorry, you don't have the fiat. Right? I want to transfer it all out. Try moving money within some of these institutions and see what they do when you try to move the money. If it's in the hundreds of thousands, you can't do it. You can't do stuff overnight. It takes an act of God in some cases, because they don't want to release your funds. They're going to do everything they can to keep your funds because of the amount of money they're making off of it. And so, yes, individuals should be able to earn interest, leverage their funds, and do all this stuff without being imposed a heavy burden by these institutions that are making billions and billions and billions of dollars. But what we're seeing right now, Chip, and all of this, what we're identifying is that the institutions themselves are now getting broken apart from the inside because of this, because of this kind of technology, it's going to streamline the process, and then it trickles down, because this is also on the consumer level as well as the institutional level. But at the end of the day, we still need them. We still need the banking infrastructure, because that's how society works. It's a, whatever that bank is, I don't care if it's Chase or if it's Ripple, it doesn't matter. But there's going to be a third party mechanism.
Yeah, and what you're talking about here, deep freeze feature, Jim doesn't like it. He says that there's a penny dispute, your whole wallet's locked out, sets up a kamikaze attacks on people or banks. Yeah, but you got to remember that's not RLUSD, it's not XRP. These are issue tokens, right? So that Jeff and I could issue a Yeti token, and then we could build that into it. So it's not necessarily. I don't know what it's. I mean, yeah, on an issue token, you might see this used in the real world, but I don't think you're going to see it. It's never going to happen on an institutional level, and you're not going to see it probably on a consumer level either. But it is a feature that can be enabled. I think the bigger thing here is, like, we think about the smart escrows. I mean, this sounds an awful lot like smart escrows, smart contracts, whatever. But this is, Jeff, this ties into what you were talking about before. Like, for example, you have this new level of programmability, right, that allows existing escrow primitive, instead of being limited to the time and condition based time release, developers can now write their own custom release conditions. And the example you used, when you have a dispute, if this is met and this condition's met, release the escrow. If not, don't release it, right? So smart escrow, smart contract, whatever, it's different in the sense that you're dealing with an escrow only, and developers can write custom ones. It's not only like it's not only timing condition, there could be other things built into that, especially like once like if something's been resolved and both sides, and one side agrees or whatever. But it used to just be limited to just time and a condition, where now it's a little bit more custom and you can open that up. But I mean, you look at this thing, it's just like this is one of the best things I've seen in a long time, of just putting a blog post out to just talk about what's coming down the pike. And there's so much good stuff. I mean, it's really really phenomenal. I know time-wise, I'm just going to cover a couple of these, but Reese Merrick put this out. We covered the Messari XRP sort of report, XRP Ledger report from Q3, but we'll just hit some high points. Like, for example, the ETFs that launched in November 25 reached $1 billion in AUM in just less than 4 weeks, the fastest to do it since Ethereum was launched. RLUSD market cap on XRPL up 164%. Quarter over quarter to 235 million. You got real world asset market cap in the XRPL up 37%. That's quarter over quarter. So from quarter 3 of 25 to quarter 4, these are massive like increases, 37% up. And the average daily transactions up 3.1% quarter over quarter to 1.83 million. And there's a whole report on that. We're not going to get into the entire report. You guys can go subscribe to, if you go to onthechain.io, scroll down, put your email in. You'll get all these links, all these things we talk about here. You get an email with everything in there. If you missed the show, you can kind of go through it and workshop it and kind of do it on your own.
Joe, I just wanted to just comment on this as we're kind of going through on the crypto side, but crypto empire with Trump and the Trump family separated from the U.S. Treasury. Whatever coin, whatever asset they're creating has nothing to do with the U.S. Treasury. And I think, but here, the last question is what really kind of resonates with the USD and stablecoin transfers. Again, nothing to do with what the Trump family is working on. But yes, it's really important what we're seeing, what Ripple is working on from the institutional level, and the RLUSD has to do with specifically in and around, if we're looking at our country, USD and stablecoin transaction, which is really important. But it goes beyond that, because we want to be able to simplify even the FX. So if we're looking at doing any type of transaction with anybody, if it's going to be outside of the US and we want currency for currency, we're working in USD, and we can utilize the RLUSD as a transactional point, or whatever mechanism they're going to use. If Ripple's involved, or if there's another platform involved, built with the XRPL right now, it can simplify the FX. And all of this technology from a B2B perspective, an institution perspective, trickle down to B2C, there's so much power in terms of what we see, which is really great.
Well, too, the reason that you saw the stablecoin bill be addressed first, the Clarity Act, was because of the impact it has. You know, everyone's like, we've been hearing about BRICS. Oh, everyone's dropping our, you know, the USD, and USD is going away. Well, what just made it super strong? Stablecoins. And the 80% of stablecoins that are being in use today, it's not the Euro stablecoin, it's not the rupee stablecoin, you know, it's not the peso stablecoin, it's the USD stablecoin. And the big ones like Circle and, you know, some of the, and Tether, they're all backed to the US dollar or assets, right? Gold or, you know, some other assets, but most of it is, it's a 1-to-1 ratio to United States dollar. So this makes the usage of, and increases it, because, you know, you had the petrodollar, which was, okay, great, everyone's going to use this, and here's how it's going to work. When they took, and back in 71, when the US took the, you know, took us off the gold standard, which dollar used to be backed by gold, it no longer is. And so that was the whole thing. Well, speculators, well, there's speculators in every market. It was the dumbest. People must have been sleeping or must have been coming out of the drug haze of the 60s, because it's the dumbest reason ever to take all. There's speculators in the marketplace. So what? Speculators since the beginning of time, go back 3,000 years ago, speculators on what's going to happen, especially when it comes to investments, armies, conquering. You know, there's always going to be speculation. So this is a dumb thing to kind of get into. And I think that, you know, it's something important that we should probably sort of remember. Vet just got a shout out from Brad Garlinghouse. He put this message out. He said, I know you feel down given the market recently. It's part of the journey. Crypto's improving nonstop, and this industry isn't going away. It's destined to revolutionize finance. We'll bounce back like we always do. Just make sure you're in a good place mentally first. Heart. Brad Garlinghouse jumped in and said, you deserve more credit for consistently being a positive force in the XRP ecosystem. Thank you, Vet.
Wow.
I think a lot of us deserve a lot of credit because we've been here for a long time. We're just not as out there, but I think it's great when you have them commenting on stuff like this. I think it's great. Vet is a force to be reckoned with. Yep. He's a tremendous person in the ecosystem. So it's good that he gets these shout outs, but there's a lot of people that are in there. So I talked a little bit about the market structure bill being delayed, Jeff. Here's Cynthia Lummis. I don't know what happened to her face, Jeff, but maybe you can find some pictures. Go back and find Cynthia Lummis from 10 years ago. I don't know what happened. Like, this was what happens to women. They put these injections in their face, and what happens after 10 years, your face starts, the underlying muscles and stuff and tissue starts to do weird stuff. But I noticed her face, and I noticed like she's retiring, like she's out, and you know, with the next, this is her last year. I don't know, maybe she just wants to take it easy, but this is her. I just said, now, is it just me, or did you notice like her face is different from just a couple years ago?
Let's take a look.
Cynthia Lummis, she is the chairwoman of the subcommittee on digital assets. Senator, it's wonderful to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. First things first, can you give us an update on when you expect this legislation to happen? You lost a big window, right, after Brian Armstrong from Coinbase complained about the markup.
Well, good morning, Maria. We did lose that window, but Senator Thune, the majority leader, has assured us that even though now we're going to have to defer into the spring, that he will reserve time on the Senate schedule, which is very hard to get, for later this spring. We had scheduled a markup in the Banking Committee, but the day before we had to pull it off the agenda, not because just of what Coinbase had said about it, but because there was other concern. And you just mentioned one of the big ones, and that is the banks and some of the credit unions have some members of the committee concerned that they will lose deposits.
There you have it, Jeff.
We're going to lose deposits.
Well, they're going to lose, they're saying deposits, they're going to massive outflows, right? So when banks monetize, Jeff, what you brought before, when banks are using your money from Friday to Monday morning, oh, we can't process on the weekend, all this stuff, and they're making, you know, millions of dollars on your, when you have those outflows, now you can go put it into a stable coin instead of keeping it at the bank. The banks are wrong on this. The banks ought to be saying, hey, store your RLUSD, store your Tether, store your, you know, whatever it might be, do that. That's what you ought to. So
here you go.
Yeah. So I brought up
no dates. I don't know where these factor in.
I brought up some images as well. I think I went too far back, Jeff. I went a little too far back. This is way too far back. Okay, she was Miss Frontier of Wyoming right
Yeah,
there.
that's a little bit far back, but
I went a little too far back, Jeff. So it's like, that happens. And then I pulled up this one right here, but you just look and like she's had work done, something. It's like I almost didn't recognize. I was like, what's going on? There's something very strange that's happening there. I don't know.
too many, face. But the problem is too, once they start doing fillers and they don't inject the fillers into the right location, then it can cause, ongoing damage, and then it's too late.
Now, Jeff, do you remember? Let's go back in time. Do you remember 2019? Which is basically, do you remember the TipBot, the XRP TipBot? I can't tell you how many tips we used to get.
We used to get tons of XRP tips with the TipBot. That was the greatest thing that Weetzy Wind created, was the XRP TipBot.
Well, guess what, Jeff?
Top of the top.
Guess what? It's coming back.
Man, it's about time.
By the way, this has been dormant since 2019. This account.
Wow.
Hello, XRP community, XRP Army. Great news. The XRP TipBot is coming back. This time, XRP, ZAO, and every issue token, even better, fully self-custodial tipping using ZAO Network and Evernode, XRPL.
I'm excited. That was great because you could QR code it and people could just scan the QR code just as easy as we use as we transfer the NFTs.
Jeff, we used to put it up there in the show. We used to put up the little people would scan it and send us one XRP, and we get it directly instead of going through YouTube, which takes 30%.
Exactly.
Someone sends us $10, we get 7 of it, right? So someone sends us $5, it's like, man, you get $350 out of it. So, but Weetzy Wind, who's the inventor of this whole thing, said, well, if you want proof things at X are changing, here's your proof. Let's bring back the good old vibes. And it was great because you could tip someone a fractional one. You could say 0.5 XRP, whatever it was, and it was just like writing a post on X.
It was so easy.
Made it so easy.
Oh, that's right through X. That's right. It was integrated with X too, or Twitter at the time.
Yeah, Twitter at the time. And here's the account. It was a lot of fun. Someone put up a good post. You'd send them like 0.25 or something, just something, right? And it was super easy. Scan, click, bump. They would go in there and be able to the wallet, but you would just write the post. You put their name, put how much XRP, you hit boom, it was gone. It was done. So it's relaunching. Send and receive tips via micro donations on XRP.
Tip.io. Look at that. Nice.
Now look at this. Look at the last post. It was 2019.
That's so crazy. Think about the years that have gone by, and it's flowing by. I feel like that was yesterday.
It doesn't seem like that.
7 years ago.
XRP Productions made an awesome video explaining how the TipBot works.
Oh man. Oh, put that video up. Let's see this video.
That's not available. 2019 gone. Wah, wah, wah. And there it is right there. Boom. There's a TipBot. You open it up.
Get to that point. They really anticipated bigger momentum, but it was more like internal stuff. It was a fun, man, it was crazy.
Yeah, Johnny Lawrence put this little thing up. So you basically, there it is. There's the TipBot right there.
Great idea.
You scan the code, type in an XRP, boom, you're done. And you sent it. 4 seconds later, they got the XRP.
Go back to that receipt. Was that in USD or was that a euro?
It might have been a euro. Yeah, because Johnny's in Europe.
Right. Don't they not take in most of Europe, they don't take tips.
They don't. But no, we're just talking about the whole, yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, just being the semantics of it. No, but it was really cool. Yeah. Man, Elliot, the SEC case seemed like 6 months. That's it, man. It's crazy how it was years. Feels like 2 years tops. That's right. Yeah, max 2 years. I feel like we all just started doing this a couple years ago.
Yeah, it really does. And when you think about what the threat to Europe is, we know what the threat is being destroyed from the outside, but this might be the biggest threat right here. Starmer, Macron, and Merz pose a far greater threat to Europe than Putin. If you look at Germany, look, if the AfD party comes in, two of their big agenda items, re-immigration, which means getting rid of people, basically deporting. It's a nice way to say we're deporting you. It's a lot nicer way to say it, but re-immigration. So, and they're also going to leave the EU. Now, if Germany leaves the EU, it collapses.
It's done. the EU is supported by Germany.
Germany and the UK. That's pretty much it. It's gone.
Yeah.
And these are the most beta males you've ever seen in your life. They're just, and I saw a good comment here. Someone said about Starmer, I'm not saying he's the dumbest person in the world, but if you better hope the dumbest person doesn't die. I think that was a John Kennedy. I think John Kennedy, Senator, he had said this about somebody. But just look at all this stuff. 100% Putin is the distraction and scapegoat of the left. They are the threat, huge threat. Facts, globalist pukes have decimated most of Western civilization.
They are. It's on their watch. How are you going to blame Putin for being a threat to Europe when he's not in Europe and you have leadership that's decimating their own countries? The whole EU, the whole EU model was meant to really deconstruct European national sovereignty of each country, and having this one unelected by the people. Nobody elects the president of the EU, but yet somehow the EU gets to regulate, exactly what each country can or can't do, even when it comes down to this illegal immigration. But now these countries have gone completely stupid, like what they're doing in Spain. Spain is completely retarded. I don't even think it's safe to go to Spain anymore. We'll have another video on how many Muslims have immigrated and moved into taking over Europe over the past 25 years. Europe's done if they don't take a stand right now.
Europe is. You can't undo it.
They can definitely undo it. It's just going to take.
If they don't take action now, it'll never be undone.
Right. You can't undo it with the pacifism of these pussies that we see in leadership right now, because they definitely can't do it. Poland, they're the only one right now. It's insane. In Hungary, yep. So let's look at these retards. I don't think we can support our own Olympic team because of the retards, the retardation. This is someone else posted that when the U.S. female soccer team was playing, because of their stance, nobody supported them. And it's the same thing with these guys. These guys like that retard 1 and 2. All right.
Let's look at retard number 1.
I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States when, I'm pretty sure you're referencing ICE and some of the protests and things like that. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights and making sure that we're treating our citizens as well as anybody with love and respect.
Well, this is why you're stupid and why you're a moron, because we do treat our citizens with respect. Unfortunately, the left doesn't treat them with respect because they're not citizens and they broke the law. He's saying we should treat citizens. Great. 100% agree with that. These aren't citizens. These are the worst of the worst. These are pedophiles. These are child traffickers. These are murderers, but you want to keep them in there. Listen, it all comes down to one thing. This is the Democrat base in the voting. That's why they issued the Social Security numbers. That's why they issued the license, and they're going away. And the bigger catastrophic one is there's no path to 270 in a national election if the kind of representation drops in these states, the swing states, the other Democrat states. They're done. They never are able to hit 270. This is the bigger threat. And you got like +4, +5 that are going to happen in Florida, that'll happen in California, because the census determines the representation in the House. And then there's always going to be 2 U.S. senators, but the representation, how many representatives you have, they're going to lose them, and it's going to go up on the Republican side. This guy's just talking out his ass. It's just like Billie Eilish, like, there can't be illegals on stolen land. Well, the tribe wants their native land back, and she's apparently not cooperating, right?
Not giving her own back.
She wants to get out there.
Home.
She wants to get out there and grandstand, Jeff, and she wants to make waves, but she won't give it back. So shut your mouth. Even Bill Maher went off on her and said, you know what? He goes, when you say you don't know what to say, how about you don't say anything? How about you shut your mouth and don't talk about shit you don't know about? I love when Bill Maher, who's on the left, who just calls out the bullshit.
And, I hope that when people look at athletes compete in the Olympics, they realize that that's the America that we're trying to represent.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think.
It brings up mixed emotions.
These guys, they should immediately be recalled home. I would hope that Trump would step up and say, we're immediately recalling both these jackholes because this guy to be, hey, you want to talk about it? You're with your private people. You're now representing the United States of America in the Olympics in a foreign country. Their coach should have instructed them, keep your effing mouth closed. Don't open it. Don't say anything political. You're there as a stupid downhill skier. So what? You're a good downhill skier. You can go fast. That's great. You know, some people, you know, they love doing it. You're one of those guys that love doing it. Other than that, you're a retard. Keep your mouth shut. We don't want to hear from you. And if you're going overseas, you definitely keep your mouth shut. You know, and you're going to represent this country, not representing yourself. You're representing the United States of America. Enough. That guy needs to be recalled. I hope nobody watches him. I hope the guy loses. He probably will. He's not going to get a gold medal. The guy's a loser, as is the other retard. You know, I could care less. You know, both need to be recalled. I hope that when they come back, they get $0 and anything. They get nothing.
I say like
zero.
I say you let them play, you let them go on. Just, you know, listen, the best thing you have is a mouthpiece for stupidity, you know, being out there.
Why let him go on?
Same during the Biden administration. Biden's the president.
Jacket.
You disagree with Biden, you just go over there and ask you these questions, these gotcha questions. What do you think about the current state of the government? Look, I represent my country. I love my country. That's it. I'm not going to get into discuss politics with you. Politics has nothing to do with me representing all the people of my country. That's it. That's your answer. Keep your mouth shut.
It's a little hard.
It's hard.
There's a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and
you don't even know what's going on, dude. That's because you're not the biggest fan, because you're just stupid.
I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it.
Okay, so when you're kicking pedophiles and child traffickers out, that doesn't align with your moral, so-called moral values, right? When you're kicking people out that are murderers, who are breaking the law, who are robbing people, that doesn't align with your moral compass.
Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S.
It does mean everything you represent going on. That's exactly what it means, you moron.
So yeah, I just kind of want to do it for my friends and my family and the people that support me getting here.
Well, good. There's going to be less and less of those people.
Brings up mixed emotions to rep.
That's the same thing. Same douches. Anyway, that was more on 1 and 2 right there, Judge. I mean, why do these people have to open their mouths? And why is the press having to say, you know, the gotcha question? Shut up. I'm here, you know, I'm here to represent the United States. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not going to get into the whole politics thing. I'm not doing it. And so listen to this, Jeff. I think people were surprised by these two things. I got, speaking of morons, we have Zorhan the moron, Mandami. Here he is, just being a complete moron. Here he is. So here's his first one, Jeff. You got to dissect this one for me.
Freedom from suffering that Buddhism teaches us.
The suffering that Buddhism teaches you. So here's what you do, okay? Distraction 1. Throw out a different religion. It could be Christianity, it could be Judaism. We're not going there. Let's go to Buddhist. This is what Buddhism teaches us. Now, let's roll in. Let's hear from the Prophet Muhammad. And let's see what Islam teaches besides, you know, cutting your head off. Let's hear what they preach.
Is only possible if we remove the 3 poisons of desire, hatred, and ignorance from our daily lives. We need not...
Is this Imam Mandami? What's going on here, dude?
Accept suffering as unchangeable. We need not treat hatred as the natural state. We have the power to set ourselves free. And I consider my own faith, Islam, a religion built upon a narrative of migration. The story of the Hijrah.
It's built upon a prophet who was a pedophile, but he waited till she was 9, Jeff.
That's right.
Married when she was 6, but waited till 9. Very important story. We're always reminded of this.
Important distinction.
This is what they always tell us. It wasn't until she was 9. Okay, all right. Multiple wives, you know, just a complete, if you go back and just look at the historical account, it's a whole different story. So he's trying to tell you what Islam teaches. What teaches that if you don't believe, we kill you. That's what it is. Let's get real.
The story of the Hijrah reminds us that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a stranger too.
I love when they does start doing the accent too. And instead of saying Islam, and the shut up, dude. Shut up.
Who fled Mecca and was welcomed in Medina. Surah An-Nahl 1640.
Who was welcomed in Medina? God, there's so much
Nobody was welcome.
Jeff, there's so much wrong with this. I don't even know when to start. Where to
This
start?
guy is saying this with a straight face. That unfortunately, too many, obviously we have a lot of aware people here, but too many people in the U.S. have been asleep. 25 years ago, we saw the terrorists attack us here on our homeland, and we've learned nothing. 25 years go by and we've learned zero, and we've allowed more to come in and the absolute conquest. And now they're lying to your face that this is all part of, but it's all built into the religion. Also, they can lie to you. They can cheat you. They can steal from you because it's all part of it. Right. If you're not Muslim, you're Christian, Jewish, Hindu, whatever, you're a second class citizen. They can do whatever they want. And this is number one, is lie. They lie to you right to your face. They make it seem innocuous. And he's talking about that they were invited in. It's conquest over all these years. Why did we go to war with the Barbary? Why did we go to war with the Barbary pirates? We went to war with the Barbary pirates because of the Muslims, right? Because they were kidnapping sailors at the time. Right. They kidnapped a lot of sailors. And if you break it down, there was a stat we didn't put up on one of the previous shows, how many Europeans had been enslaved by the Arabs, by the Muslims, how many Africans have been enslaved by the Muslims. The Muslims, they still practice slavery today in many of the countries. They started the slave trade. And so they always want to point their fingers at Europe and the U.S. The U.S. seems to be, we're the culprit of the slave trade in the U.S. for some unknown reason, because it didn't start here. And you saw, they were, transported here. But what about the African slave trade? What about the Islamic slave trade in the Muslim countries? But yet everybody wants to ignore that, which is amazing. So this guy's lying to your face. Like he was picked and put exactly where he's at right now. Just like the quote unquote squad, when you see them, they didn't win their elections. They were all handpicked. The squad was formed by Hollywood. It's obviously all fictitious, and now it's all coming out because you see the massive amounts of money that each one of them has received over a very short period of time. And this is another one that there's a reason why they're attacking New York City right now, and they want to make it seem like it's normal, but it isn't. And this is a perfect example right here.
Tells us, as for those who immigrated in the cause of Allah after being persecuted, we will surely bless them with a good home in this world. Or as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. If faith...
Clap for your own demise. This is the thing. So you basically take over anything that's making money in capitalism. You crush it. Everybody moves out, and you move your people in. You take over New York City. This is the whole plan here.
Yeah. Yep.
If faith offers us the moral compass to stand alongside the stranger, government can provide the resources. Let us create a new expectation of City Hall, where power is wielded to love.
So he's basically telling you how immigration is welcome, any kind of immigration, mostly Muslim immigration, Islamic. And then when you think it couldn't get worse, he doubles down on stupid. Let's listen to this.
Talk through these policy points. Freezing the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants does not require money from the city. It is a determination made that landlords cannot increase the rent for those about 1 million.
But their taxes are going up, Jeff. Their taxes are going up. They're told they're going to have to take less and like it. And we're going to figure out the city's going to crush you. I mean, they want everything fixed. They want stuff. Look, this is pure capitalism. If you're struggling and you can't, you're getting taxed more, you got to raise your rents. It's just the way it works. This rent stabilization thing is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Let the market forces decide.
Apartments. That's something the city has done before. Making buses free costs around $700 million. Providing universal childcare costs about $6 billion. These are significant amounts of money. They have to be understood in the context of a $116 billion city budget, a state budget of more than $252 billion. The money that we would raise to
All these
fund
things
this
here.
agenda is in two parts. The first is by increasing the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New
But you got to listen closely for what he's calling for, Jeff. This is insanity right here.
Jersey. That would raise $5 billion. This would only impact
Jersey.
the most profitable corporations, ones that
This is what and they always do this. It's only going to be the most profitable. It's going to be easy, Jeff. Just the most profitable ones. That's it.
are making millions of dollars in profits. The second is to increase. Please.
You're sure they're not going to leave. Y esas compañías no se van a ir de Nueva York. They're not going to leave New York.
So the way that this tax works is it applies to any business doing business here.
Did you catch that? He's not talking
Yeah.
about he's not talking about taxing the companies just in New York City.
Anyone who does
Anybody
business-
selling into New York City, anybody
Well, he's-
purchasing
he's
something,
basically imposing a tariff.
basically
He's
a tariff.
imposing a tariff on all companies doing business in New York City. So you know what?
What is it? You're not going to do business in New York City. Hello. These
Goodbye,
people
New
are
York
stupid.
City.
It could be
Don't need
located
you.
in Miami, but if they're doing business in New York, it applies to them. And the reason I believe
That's right.
everyone will keep doing business here is our economy is so large that if it was a country, it would rival the top countries in the world. The second
But
Need
bad
more.
belief system, bro. Don't worry about it. It's a bad belief system.
is personal income taxes. I think that the top 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year should pay 2% more in personal income taxes. That would raise
Okay.
$4 billion. These are the two major revenue points. But as you've also said, I want to make sure that every dollar we have today is also a dollar that we are spending in the fullest way possible. And what I mean by that is today I'll look at our Department of Education. It's the agency where we spend the most amount of money of any department in City Hall. And what we find is that we're spending $10 billion a year on contracts. There is money that can be saved in the way in which we spend on those contracts, the way in which we procure those contracts, the standardization or lack thereof. We have to make sure, as you said, that every dollar is going to the benefit of the classroom.
This guy's
Get rid of the
destroying it
Department
in
of
record time.
Education. That's
Yeah,
how
he's
you save
destroying
it.
They're spending so much on education, and the New York schools, especially in New York City, are horrid on the national level. The best are in Florida, right? And they're not even receiving that kind of money.
That's it. Man, escape from New York. How great would that be?
Yeah.
It would be so easy to wall it in.
Yeah, it's getting to the point of where it's gotten so outrageous. And Jeff, you brought up something before. This is like shocking. Like I knew this was happening, but until you see it on a map, it doesn't really resonate with you. You're like, okay, so there's just been a big uproar about what's happening not in Texas, but specifically around Dallas with the new mosques that are coming on board. And I knew it was a lot, but when you see them on the map, it's shocking. Listen to this.
Map here. This map represents 42 new mosques in the state of Texas in a 24-month period of time. Look how close they all are. It is all by design. It is all the plan. They're going to take over America from within. How do you do that? You take a location, you own that location, and then what you start to do is you start to spread out around that location. You build the center, and then you build the outskirts, like they did in Dearborn. Take the core, make it so obnoxious for anybody who is not Islamic, and just keep on spreading it out like a cancer cell. Metastasize it. That's Manhattan. Manhattan right now is basically a Muslim enclave. It wasn't like that 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now they've got their mayor, and what's going to wind up happening is that is going to continue to breathe and expand into the 5 boroughs and Long Island. And the way they spread it is brilliant. They start doing things that you and I don't align with, that we can't take it anymore. 5 times during the day, you're going to hear through the loudspeaker. You're trying to sit in your backyard. You're trying to go to a park. You're at work and you got to hear freaking calls to Mecca 5 times a day. You know what you do? You put the for sale sign on your house. If you don't believe this, if you think I am over exaggerating, this is not what I'm about to show you anywhere in the Middle East. This is called the middle of Houston, Texas. They are trying to make it happen everywhere, and they are moving rapidly.
The death cult strikes again. And this is what happened is, the problem is Islam, it has Sharia law. You can't separate the two. Sharia law is incongruent with the Constitution, with the West in general. Sorry. All you have to do is basically say you can't have a religion that says, if you don't believe what I believe in. Can you imagine if the Jewish faith said, like, here's our basic tenet of how we believe. Either you believe like us or we kill you. It's like, whoa, hang on a second. Imagine Christians going around saying, well, here's kind of how it works. Either you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior or we kill you. But it's okay to say you accept Allah, you accept Muhammad as the prophet, or we kill you. And everyone's like, that feels fair. This is insane, Jeff. It's like an insane way to think about it. But if it was the Jewish faith, it was a Christian faith, oh my, we can't, are you kidding me? This is horrible. But the difference is the Jewish faith, the Christian faith, a lot of these other faiths, Buddhism, and you name any sort of faith, they all are rooted in this whole idea of love, peace, and the greater good for mankind. There's nothing in there that says go kill somebody. The infidel, which is the non-believer, right? So go kill people off with their heads. First, tax the shit out of them. First, make it painful for them, and then you can kill them. Oh, really? There's some prerequisites we can do first. Beautiful.
That's it. Here you have. It's not just Texas, right? It's all over. That's why you mentioned
I didn't know you were
Dearborn.
from Buffalo. Visual Vendetta.
Yeah,
I grew up in NC.
Upstate New York. Go to Syracuse, New York. Also, a lot of things happen over there because they specifically target those smaller communities like Dearborn. It was easy for conquest. Hamtramck, Michigan was easy for overall conquest, and they did make it uncomfortable. The other part is that they pay top dollar, but the more they come in, the more uncomfortable it gets. And I remember going to Dearborn, Chip, when I first moved there, and I remember we drove around. My buddy took me around, and I'm like, man, this is kind of like Beirut. All the signs were in Arabic, but also from a community perspective, in terms of infrastructure, it also looked like Beirut. I'm looking at the streets and I'm looking around. I'm like, are we in, like, Detroit wasn't much better off, but Dearborn, I'm like, with all these storefronts, you would think these guys would want to live better and they would get, with all the money.
Third world conditions.
They did it on purpose. They love the third world because they know that the West, they don't want to live in that kind of environment. And like he said, it's like a cancer that metastasizes. It's exactly what it is, and because of the mass number of people, the illegal immigration, the left in this country has bowed down to their idol and worship at their feet, and they're mass immigrating them here specifically they think they can hold on to power. They think, just like the dummies over in the UK, right? If you think about after World War II, the British thought that they could control the Arab Empire, throughout the Middle East. And this was actually, I would say, after World War I, when you had the British mandate and you had the mandate system. They thought they could control and build out this Arab empire that they would control by the British crown. How did that turn out from them? Because they and the audacity they had to even think they could. And so they built out this entire structure. Now look at where we're at, right? They have 57 countries that are Islamic, and they're expanding. They want more. They don't want to stop there. They want everything. They want everything. That's why Israel is symbolic, because it's the epicenter of Judeo-Christian belief. They want it. They don't give a shit about anything other than they don't care about the current conflict. They think long game. The West are stupid because they think short game. We don't think long game here. If we thought long game, we'd go back to the Barbary pirates and we'd look throughout history and we truly understand what happens historically and go forward, because they've always played the long game, 1,400-year long game. We're playing the short game. We think in snippets of decades. That's it. So they've monopolized it. They're controlling us. They're controlling the narrative. The left is dangerous, not just in this country, but throughout Europe. We're seeing it. We put that up there. Who's more dangerous? You know, it's all noise. They're letting these people into their countries in mass numbers. We have a slide on that too. What the quantity of mass illegal immigration was, the displacement in Europe. From 25 years ago, there were 500,000 Muslims in Europe. Now it's 50 million per the count. Whether it's accurate or not, we'd have to see for sure. But a massive, massive number of people.
Yeah, I even marvel, even at a small town like Boca Raton, it's like you have two giant mosques, huge, and one of them is like very bad, got some very bad things going on. One is a little bit smaller, but it's just really insane to think that this is going on, and like it's not a religion of peace, a religion of death, right? So this whole thing, that one we saw before, what's happening in Buffalo, I grew up outside of Buffalo, New York, and remember calling my dad one time and complaining like, "Dad, you don't understand. Like everything's under construction. They're putting new roads in. There's new plazas going up. There's new houses being built. There's new this, and it's horrible traffic." My dad's like, "Well, here in Buffalo, there has, be thankful you have that going on. There hasn't been anything new in 40 years. They're crumbling. They're tearing down neighborhoods. They're bulldozing entire neighborhoods, and nothing new is being built on it. So be happy that's a good problem to have, not a bad problem." And it made a lot of sense to realize that that's what's going on. Now, somebody who's been one of the few actors in Hollywood, a Academy Award winner, Jon Voight, who also happens to be the father of that nut job Angelina Jolie, who doesn't even have a relationship with her father because she's a leftist nut. But anyway, he's always putting great content out there. But here's him talking about New York City. Jeff, I want to get your opinion on what you think of this.
That has taken over New York City is a Muslim that's going to take down the city that never sleeps, the city of life's dreams, this city that our ancestors brought forth in prosperity and greatness and liberty. This city will turn into a forbidden place of darkness. The blood, sweat, and tears that the city of New York was built on will turn into a virtual refugee shelter for the radical Muslim ideology. This is now the most dangerous time for our citizens of New York. This mayor will destroy this city. We are obligated to demand our rights for our private sanctuary, our businesses, our property that we all have worked so hard for. And this 35-year-old mayor has no right dictating the rules of socialism for a city built on our highest principles with brick and stone by hardworking Americans. This must be stopped, and his mayoralty should be terminated immediately.
Exactly.
You, the people of the greatest city, New York, are in danger of losing your city to this communist fool. We, the people, must stand for the greatest nation's purpose, the honor of our flag, the red, white, and blue, and for which it stands, one nation under God, and liberty and justice for all. This country, the United States of America, is the land of our greatest achievement, the American dream. And we, the people, have put our trust in the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He and only he can stop this horror. As this Mayor Mamdani will try to destroy New York's wealth and turn it into a socialist crap city. Let this be a warning to the people. And may God bless.
What do you think of that? Spot on, Jeff.
Yeah, spot on. And he's right. The stupid people of New York City maybe voted for it, maybe didn't. I don't know. I don't know. We see way too much corruption. I think that the elections in New York State have been stolen, just like the other states.
Yeah, of course.
I think we need a clear accounting to see exactly what's going on. It's all over. It's rampant. You don't have a crazy governor like they do in New York, but even the crazy governor of New York is at odds with the mayor. She's like, free buses. Are you crazy? So, but that just proof. Same thing with Michigan. They have a crazy governor in Michigan. I don't believe that she was elected officially. I think it was stolen. And the pizza boxes on the windows when they were going through the election cycle, I think is proof positive that they stole the election. I think, Art, on 2020 definitely is not over yet. There's still a lot that's coming out. Wait till they go through full prosecution and discovery. We're just in year one. There's a little bit of time when they finally, pull that through. There's just way too much corruption out there. This guy, you're going to tell me that they voted for this guy, but they also didn't have, really amazing candidates that were trying to run.
That's true too. But you look at their last mayor, this guy looks like a hardcore conservative in comparison. Now, Elytron has it right here. They should have the free short buses for all the retards. I agree with that. That's the only buses they should have free. Unfortunately, it's 90% in New York. So I don't know. Maybe it doesn't make sense.
I think there's something bad in the water there, which the water's bad, but I think there's something extra bad.
Look at this right here. So this is let's take a look at Europe and Muslims, Jeff. Let's take a look at this.
Million Muslims now live in Europe. At the turn of the century, that number was less than 500,000, and more are arriving every day. As the people who lead these countries try to do what Joe Biden tried to do here, and that is fundamentally change the racial and ethnic makeup of a nation and make white Christians a minority in their own country. In England alone, right now, 10 major cities, including London, now have Muslim mayors in a nation that was built around the Church of England. Muslims are now running major cities across the country for the first time in history, and the English want us to believe that this is all normal.
The Muslim will come out and he will stand for truth and he will stand for justice. May Allah give us the ability to stand for the haqq.
So this is not the Middle East. It's not East Minneapolis even. That is England. And when you see images like that, you can't help but ask why anyone, a prime minister or a president or a king, would deliberately try to destroy their own country. Why would you do that? Why is this being done? And because European leaders still celebrate our failed experiment in open borders, it failed here in the United States, and because they've chosen to stand with radical Muslims over their own people, it's because of all of these reasons these countries are falling apart and failing as the attack on Western civilization continues.
See that? It says right there, UK collapsing under the weight of Islam. There's one reason it happens. It's this woke ideology. Okay, so people want to believe racism only goes one direction, right? And racism is thinking another race. It's it. But people always, if you ever heard this term reverse, there's no such thing as reverse racism. There's only racism. And so if you have a country that's mostly white people and has a history of Christianity, and now you want to go in there and change that, sorry, get the F out. That's how you do it. You get out of your country. If you live in, I don't see anybody going to Nigeria and saying there's not enough white people here. You got people there that are in officials saying, well, it's too white. It's just too white. Get out of the country. This is, and you go to France, so the French people, yeah, white people is like, what is this whole thing? What is this takedown of white people? Like, why are the white people? Because they're a majority? Well, when they become the minority, will anything change? No. They'll still be persecuted and hated. The Jewish faith, the Muslim, the Christianity, Muslims are still going to be against it. So to me, Jeff, this whole thing is just, it's going to be destroyed. We'll see it probably in our lifetimes. Our kids will definitely see it in their lifetime. It's over. And the Crusades ain't going to help it this time, dude. It's over. Either you go back there with a large army and reclaim it, and you basically have to, look what happened with Israel, right? They got all this stuff. Listen, you can't pick. You're a good one, you're a bad one, you're a good one. No, done, leveled. Sorry, you made a mistake. You attacked. It's time to level it. That's how you work. There's no trying to be nice about this at this point. It's when you start people talking like that, and as a guest in another country, there's no assimilation. They're bringing their ugliness and and the way they speak out, and no one's offended by it. It's this woke culture has started this. They don't want to be called racist. Meanwhile, you got these rape grooming gangs that are raping young women, and they're not even going to jail. You're going to do more of it. You're not going to do less.
250,000 young girls were raped in England.
None of them went to jail. None of them. The people that spoke out about it went to prison. Right. This is how bad it is. Well, Jeff, the whole SAVE Act is something that's got to get passed, right? Voter ID, same-day voting. You can't have mail-in ballots. This is how they steal elections. This is why they're up in arms. But Schumer's out there talking about all this craziness. Well, here's what this one woman had to say about it. Listen to this.
What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting.
See, this is where my righteous anger pop up, because I know what he's saying is a lie. I live in the South. I've been living in the South my whole life on the Gulf Coast. I go to vote every single time there's an election. And guess what? I show my ID. I write my signature. They check to make sure who I am. I go vote. No problems. Nobody asking me any questions. Nobody making me count the jelly beans in the jar. And quit lumping us in the people of color category. We're Black Americans. And we are citizens, and nobody is taking away our right to vote. What they are doing is they're using Black people, going back in the past, provoking emotional manipulation, because they know if they say Jim Crow or slavery, Black people are going to be like, oh my God, he's right. They're coming against us. This has nothing to do with you, Black people. Wake up. People of color he talking about is illegal migrants. They don't have IDs. That's their new voting base. But letting these people use you. I've been having an ID since I was 15 years old. I'm 50 years old. Every Black person I know has an ID. You need an ID to drive. You need an ID to go into a club. You need an ID to fly on a plane. You need an ID to go into another country. You need an ID to buy liquor. You need an ID to buy cigarettes. I don't know any black person without an ID. Even the poorest of the poor black people have an ID. JJ down the street that dig in the trash can that I pass by, and he always bothering me about a little bit of money. And when I feeling a little giving, I give him $5. Guess what he do? He go straight into the liquor store and go buy him some liquor. But before he do, he present his ID. So even the homeless man got an ID. Black people, y'all can keep letting these liberals play in y'all face, but Malcolm X warned y'all about these people. They're using you. This is about getting illegal migrants to vote. They don't have an ID, so they don't want any questions whenever they walk in there. They are the Democratic Party new voting base. They are the new slave.
For instance, if you
She's so smart, spot on, because where the Democrats, their typical voting base, right? They had typically the black vote was secured by the Democrats because it was all fear mongering, and the same thing with the Jewish vote. You know, a large percentage, same thing. You know, is all fear mongering. Now that's all flipping. Now we see now the Democrats are running scared. A, all their money's stripped away from them. B, the Latin American community, Venezuelan, Cuban, Colombian, everyone here that, you know, has kind of first generation that escaped fascism and communism. They're not voting Democrat. You know, the Jewish vote's flipping, the black vote's flipping. The only thing they have left are the illegals. And they want to pour illegals in here. Plus, they also want to have people vote multiple times. So if you need no ID, how do you know who's going to vote? And that's what California, you know, during the whole COVID, you know, mail-in ballot, where they just dump ballots and they just let people vote indiscriminately, and they're stuffing, and it's just the whole narrative is collapsing on their head, and they're trying to hold it. They're trying to hold the line of their cheat, and it's not going to happen any longer. That's why they want the illegals, but they're playing a super dangerous game, and they're cozying up. You know, it's insane. It's a game dangerous enough to collapse the country from within as they bring all these illegals in by the millions and millions. Not going to happen. Not on our
Sandberger that was just elected, the governor elected into. So they didn't want, they would, this is the same people that are always calling, you know, the conservatives racist. You had a black lieutenant governor who was running for Virginia, who was very outspoken, who laid out the groundwork of how Virginia could be great, told it straight. Meanwhile, you had a poser, Spanberger, came in, we're going to make it more affordable for all. We're going to make it so affordable, it's going to be great. Well, they've already destroyed it. Well, she's not even been in there for like a month and a half already, and introduced 50 new taxes. So this woman's talking about it too. She's like, and this is a lifelong Democrat right here, Jeff. The volume's a little low, so you guys might have to turn it up a little bit on your side, but listen to this.
When I tell you this is the perfect time to move the fuck out of Virginia, why I just saw all these damn taxes they are proposing. Like, I'm just not understanding why that's even a proposal right now.
Democrat.
Why are we proposing all these damn taxes?
Democrats.
We already pay car taxes. When I tell you, like, this is fucking ridiculous, bro. Like, I am starting to believe, like, Democrat, if y'all keep going down this path, I don't know how much longer y'all gonna be able to be in office. Like, as a long life Democrat, it is just so frustrating how they keep running on affordability. But then they get in office, and it's like, you...
This wasn't the camel that broke the straw's back. This was not the one. She's like, if you keep going, they have kept going. There's never a Democrat. Show me a Democrat that says, you know what, I'm lowering taxes. I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to lower taxes. No, always raise the taxes.
Always raise.
You got to raise taxes. You got to pay for stuff. And then it always be like this, but only on it always looks like that, but only, meanwhile, 50 new taxes on everything that affects everybody. How are you going to pay for the socialism? Who's going to pay for that? You are. You're going to pay for your free shit. There's no free shit. But they keep pawning this thing off. They're just free stuff, Jeff. Everyone's going to get free stuff, and it's going to be great. Here's Tommy Tuberville talking about it. He's one of the few people out there actually making a difference in Congress. Look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to my colleagues from the House. I wish to add more of my colleagues from the Senate here. This is a very, very important caucus, and it will grow. It's going to have to do that. It is just unfortunate, but folks, wake up, America. We got to wake up. The enemy is inside the gates.
That's right.
It is very, very important that we start to understand every day of how important this is. Important to us, our kids, and our grandkids, and the future of this great nation. 250 years that we've made it. But we're being attacked every day, and it's growing. But our side needs to grow also and fight back. There's a silent revolution that's going on in our country. We have to remember that radical Islam is not a religion. It is a political organization run by terrorists. No easy way to put it.
Ding, ding, ding.
Islamic extremism is infiltrating the U.S. and refusing to assimilate. But what's even darker than that, many of them are openly admitting that they are here with the intent to destroy our country and to kill Americans. They couldn't put it any more clear. This is not a secret. The Quran instructs them to kill all infidels. It specifically encourages them to behead all infidels. If you're not a Muslim, they don't want you here. It provides clear instructions about how they are to steal from non-Muslims. It's no wonder that a group of Somalians have been accused of stealing, 18 billion to this point, and growing, as President Trump says. Roughly 5 million Muslims live in this country, in the United States of America, and on the rise. We do have people who are Muslims in this country, of Muslim descent, who do not practice Sharia law, and they are welcome because they want to assimilate to our culture. But woke cities like Michigan, Minnesota, and New Jersey are replacing American civic norms with radical Islamic policies. Minneapolis became the first major U.S. city to allow amplified Islamic calls to prayer year-round. Noise ordinance be damned. This type of practice is not even allowed in most Muslim countries. Why do they do it here? They want to be seen and heard. They want to be on television.
Anyway, it's very well done, and
yeah,
it's just hard to understand. Like, this is something that Laura Loomer commented on here, but there are 535 members of Congress, 100 serve in the U.S. Senate, and there's 435 that serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. How is it that only 35 of 535 join the Sharia-free America caucus to make sure we don't have Sharia law in America? There should be 535 of 535. Here's Rep. Keith self said that the Sharia-free America caucus has grown to 35 members. We're committed to stopping the spread of Sharia in our communities and local governments to defend the homeland. And you have, this is the saddest thing in the world, man, that this is it. These are the only, I mean, how is this even possible? It's hard to understand. And somebody mentioned Ilhan Omar. Look at this. So Rep. James Comer is demanding financial information from companies linked to Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar's husband. His companies reportedly went from 51,000 to 30 million in 1 year. Zero investor information. So we want to know who's funding this, who's buying access. And so he wrote this letter, the disclosure report filed on May 14th, 2024, lists a stake in your winery, stew crew, whatever, worth between 15,000 and 50,000. A stake in your venture capital firm, Rose Lake Capital, between $1 and $1,000. Okay, a venture capital firm. This is the stake that Ilhan Omar has in it, right? Your combined total listed assets not worth than 208,000. Omar's 24 financial disclosure report filed on May 14th lists a stake in, let's go over to the next one, St. Crew worth at least 1 million and 5 million. A stake in Rose Lake Capital worth 5 million to 25 million. Both your assets potentially worth more than 30 million, an increase of 140 times in a year. serious public concern. So he talks about the whole thing, lays it out, and something that I liked was this comment here, if I can find it. Maybe somebody said, "Ooh, a strongly worded letter. I hope nothing happens."
Yep.
So it's just it's getting to be a lot of people.
And Chip, this is really important. I'll pull the video up here in a second, kind of as a last point. But Jim D brings up a good point. Real Muslims would not just would, but they do prosecute modern Muslims, and not just the modern Muslims, but if you have you got the video, so yeah, pull that up.
Funny you should say that.
Yeah, but if you have a Muslim that has converted to Christianity, they face massive amounts of persecution. And here's somebody over in England. So here's someone of Pakistani descent.
I'm born and raised in England. I hail from a Pakistani Kashmiri parents, immigrant parents. So I'm born in 1965. So I had a wonderful British upbringing. In 1996, I embraced the Christian faith, and very sad to say, from that moment on, we suffered persecution, and our persecution escalated.
Just to be clear, you say we, you mean your family?
My wife,
okay.
and my young children at the time.
Goodness. Okay, actually, please continue. Yeah.
Yes, and so, and what happened, I had a couple of close friends who were also born and raised. This is a place in Bradford. So I'm born and raised in Birmingham, second largest city in England, actually. And so I had now traveled to Bradford, West Yorkshire, and it has a sizable Muslim stroke Pakistani population, about 35%. And so I had friends who were also born and raised like me in England. And actually, so I told them, look, I have embraced the Christian faith. So they became very hostile to me, told me that I should no longer approach them, knock on their door. That was it. As far as I was concerned, I was dead and buried. So this is an offense as per Islam, and under Sharia, it mandates the death penalty. But can I just say, at the time, Jan, I didn't have an idea of Sharia, because we're born and raised, our upbringing is in a Pakistani household, but my lifestyle was very much British. So you caught between the two. However, you are then actually, you conform to the pattern of going to the mosque after school as a youngster from an age of 9, 10. You're taught the Quran. It's in ancient Arabic, okay? You're never taught the Sharia. And so you just conform to the obligatory patterns and rituals of Islam. I've never done the 5 prayers, but so you just go along. But anyway, sir, the fact is that when I converted, in a nutshell, all hell broke loose, and we suffered severe persecution.
So what kind of persecution?
Okay, so it starts off as name calling, kuffar, kafir, infidel, unbeliever. I was often referred, myself and my family, as Jew dogs. So it's the superiority of Islam and the hatred, as it's ingrained in them, to hate Christians, Jews. And so this is something which we then endured, and then it becomes confrontational, being spat at, being dehumanized in front of your wife and children, jostled. Then it then escalates to your car being set on fire, which was horrendous. Nothing prepares you for opening your curtains 3 o'clock in the morning when you hear your car going up in flames and 7-foot flames shooting up for your car. And actually, so it is terrorism. acts of terrorism.
Anyway, this goes on for a long time, but it's amazing to hear this man's story. And it's like, this is why you don't see the Muslims, which are good Muslims who, who come to like England, or they come to France. They want to assimilate. They want to learn the language. They still want to practice their religion, their customs, but they're not radicalized. They're not like, let's kill people. And you have them here in the United States. And it's like, it's kind of what Tommy Tuberville is talking about, is like, you have people that come here and assimilate, and they're great. It's fantastic. We want that, but what we don't want are, crazy people coming here with like, they're not sitting there out in the, they're doing their prayers, daily. They're doing them in their house. They're doing them somewhere. They're not out there in the middle of the street doing it just to say, look at us. I mean, they're being respectful. And this is the difference. And what Tommy Tuber was talking about, here's a man whose car was set on fire, was ostracized, his life was threatened because he chose to leave the Muslim faith. I mean, can you imagine? Like, that's almost like worse than like an infidel. It's like somebody was one of you and they left, they chose something different. You talk about a man from Pakistani parents who came to the UK and really assimilated, into the cultures. And he talked about even growing up in the home that Sharia wasn't really a thing because his parents were just regular Muslims, it was never introduced to him all that craziness, which unfortunately is part of it. But again, I guess you could sort of, it's in the it's in the Quran. I mean, you can go find the passages in there. It's not like it's something different, but it's insane, Jeff, what we're seeing here on the scale. And it's like, thank God that something's being done about it. But look, we're starting to see. I saw like states where you had Muslims running for office, like local mayors and stuff like that. It's really insane. Like that, you don't even have regular people running anymore. It's huge numbers. But you know what?
More monkeys talking about Birmingham, England, looking like Beirut. And I went to visit the Aston Villa Stadium, where they play over at Villa Park, and just getting there, driving through Birmingham, it was very reminiscent of like driving through like a Dearborn or something, very industrial area. But I was a little bit surprised, by what I saw, as we had driven through Birmingham. And that was a couple of years ago, which is crazy.
Guys, type in Yeti. We have 8 of them. We're going to do a drawing. There's no song today. We're just going to do I'm going to give away this little.
Going straight to the.
Go right straight to the thing and get 8 in there. Type in Yeti, Y-E-T-I. Type in Yeti and win this little guy right here. What you need to type, just like what Lethal just typed in it. Got 10 in there now. 11, 12. They're coming in, Jeff.
There we go.
There is Sharia compliant crypto.
Yeah, I'm sure there is
one of them.
Yeah. Okay. How many do we have in?
12, Jeff. That's enough to do the
all right.
drawing. Pull it up here. 13 in here. 14 are coming in, man. I'll give you another few seconds here. Type in Yeti. Yeti.
One more. Roll. I think 14 is a good number to roll.
Yeah, one more second here.
We need one more. One more Yeti. One more Yeti.
Come on, people, let's do this.
Yeah. There we go.
There it is. Right there.
It's number 15. All right.
You know who's going to win this now.
Oh.
Charles is in. Ready? Let's go. Who wins? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Jim D.
And we haven't seen a big win from Jim D in a little bit.
Winner, Jim D. 007. Jim D.
The big winner of today. Winner.
So did it twice to make up. Good. Rigged.
Rigged right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Jim D.
Jim D, are you still here? Come on, Jim D.
Rigged.
Charles thought that was a guaranteed victory.
Rigged, rugged, rigged, rugged.
Rigged.
That's so freaking funny. Rigged. You guys, it's Riggs. Congrats.
There we go. Oh no, give it to a new person. What does that mean?
Why don't we just do another spin?
We have to do another spin.
Let's
If
do
you
another
type Yeti YETI and you've got your Zaman wallet ready to go, then
All right, we'll do another one. Go ahead and cue up the music. All right, Jim, we'll do that.
roll again. And Jim can't win twice, so there we go.
Again, yeah, 14. 1 in 14 chance, people. Let's go. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
Crypto.
Oh,
man. Crypto been wanting to win for a while.
Correspondent on the ground in Belgium.
Crypto in Belgium. Come
Belgian
on.
OTC correspondent is here.
Sure.
Sharia draw.
Come on, Crypto Whelp. Oh man.
Boom. There he is. He's here.
Oh, wait, there we go.
We're trying to both put it up at the same time. You're taking it off. I'm putting it up here.
Crypto Whelp.
Big winner, man. To see what happens, you stick around.
Even though you put your Zaman wallet, getting your address. Awesome.
I think we have his address, don't we?
I don't know. Maybe he changed it. So let's get his new one.
Yeah. Also throw your handle in there too.
Oh yeah.
CW. Beautiful.
Hey, Crypto Whelp. That's exciting.
Hey, while we're waiting for that, I'm going to put up this this parody on Gangster's Paradise. Jeff, if you know the song, it's an old school song. What was that? The 90s, I think it came out. Gangster's Paradise. Coolio, 1995. I just checked it out. I saw Coolio in the Netherlands.
Wow.
And I want to say around I think it was 2000.
Wow.
It was at the proms. They did the proms down there in what's the city right underneath? I have to look at a map. But anyway, I did see Coolio do this live. It was pretty cool. Sounded good. And then, Howard Jones was in that concert as well. And Howard Jones is the guy that sang sang on that. It was actually a really cool show. All right, let's do this, guys. Let's do this. Here is Trump with his version of Gangsta's Paradise. Here we go.
I walk through the city overrun by the left. I take a look at Tim Walz and realize he's so inept, cause he's been scheming and frauding so long that even Melania thinks he's a big ding dong. But I never crossed a lib who didn't deserve it. Now you get called out by Trump, I hope that it's worth it. You got my ICE agent stressing with your protesting, so please follow orders or they'll be arrested. I hate to power trip, but I gotta though. Got no paper, send you back to the land below. Fool, you the type of bee to come and drive an SUV over the police out of spite, then you crash into street lights. Them spending most them nights at a protest while they swear at ICE. Sometimes they pay a price at a protest while they swear at ICE. I must protect the nation and solve inflation, so I'm asking you to quit. Ain't got time for this shit, so we need to let ICE do their jobs now. Don't you have a CVS somewhere to rob now, fool?
You gotta love that. It's parodies. I'll tell you what, man, the right really knows how to meme. The left can't meme to save their life because their ideology can't prevent them to understand humor anymore. They don't have, everything is mean spirit. They just don't even, they can't get the subtleties and how things are funny. And their memes are always bad. Every once in a while you might see one or two good ones, but it's really rare. They're just not good at it. Welcome, Crypto Wealth. Thanks, Jim D. Jim
Wealth
D,
is now the proud owner of Badass Yeti number 714. 714. Yeti. He is the Lil Prowlers from the White Tribe. Lil Prowlers clan from the White Tribe, number 714. Now belongs to Crypto Wealth. Go claim it.
Little Prowlers, yep. All right, well, that's it, guys. I mean, that's it. We did the whole show. We did an hour and 50. Oh, shit, almost 2 hours? God.
Almost 2 hours. This is going. Wow. Dragged it on.
Last time I looked, it was like 53 minutes. A whole hour went by. It's 1:53 now. Damn.
That's it.
Anywho's.
And we're not going to be here tomorrow because tomorrow night.
We did a double show today. So you got double show and Saturday. Tomorrow. Why? Because why, Jeff? Why aren't we going to be here tomorrow?
The Patriots are going to win tomorrow night.
Hell no, they're not going to win. Hell no, they're going to throw asses crushed into this hell and smashed through the ground. I just hope I hope it's painful for the Patriots. I hope it's a 47-21 loss. We'll see.
Plus,
But
we're going to
Patriots
be
always find a way to win, Jeff. They're the luckiest team ever, and they got 6 rings already. So who knows?
Why not one more?
If they won, it wouldn't surprise me. It would just anger me. So that's all the
Look at
time.
this. Danny, great show. I'm no longer a Chip and Jeff virgin. See that?
See that, dude? What
Get
happened
that?
when you come in?
First time show. Glad you were able to make it on and
That's awesome,
enjoy
man.
our
Well,
rants.
really great
Danny,
to
we're
have you.
here 8 a.m. every Saturday morning, 8 p.m. on Sundays, and then Wednesday also 8 p.m.
Yeah, and you guys are the show, right? We put your comments up there. You guys, and sometimes you take us off on tangents, which happens quite frequently. But this is why we do the show live, because you're part of the show. We put your comments up there. We talk about them. We workshop them, and it's really important to have your voice. And we used to have a detractor would come in here all the time too. He's kind of like been doing other things. We like detractors too, man. You're like, listen, you can't always agree to everything we say. Unfortunately, Jeff and I agree on almost everything we say, but
Pretty much everything.
well, we have to try to disagree, but it's really difficult. We're pretty much
Always
locked down.
disagree on iPhone and
That's the only thing we have to disagree about, but who cares?
Android.
Yeah.
I'd agree
Mac
that-
and PC, perpetually complicated. And
either.
although I put a post up, Weeds to Wind. I commented on something he said, and I had to just go off on, because he was talking about Apple doing some stupid crap. And I was like, dude, I went off. I'm like, this guy, Tim Cook, is basically, he's making money, but there's no innovation happening there. And he's letting great people leave. And he's destroyed the brand, unfortunately. There's no one thinks of Apple as innovative. They're just managing the decline of they come out with a new phone and it does nothing. It's got a new color. It's Bitcoin orange. Oh, let's get it. Is the camera better? Oh, it's better. How much better? Marginal at best.
Yeah,
it does nothing. And then they come out with liquid glass, which I call liquid ass, because it's the worst freaking design choice of all time. Everyone hates it. It's hard. It's hard to see stuff. It doesn't work. They're just got the wrong people over there. They got the wrong people managing the brand. And Tim Cook is not the guy. He's not the guy. Yeah, he makes money. Yeah,
You need to learn from BlackBerry. I think that. Where's BlackBerry today? Is iPhone going to be where BlackBerry was because they're dropping the ball so much and becoming?
I don't know, man. It's just like they just really are pathetic.
Yeah, but all right, let's wrap it. We'll check you guys out Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
Wednesday, not tomorrow night.
And that is
Night
it.
Super
Not
Bowl.
tomorrow night. We'll be back on Wednesday. So see you guys. Have a great weekend. Go Seahawks. That's all we know. See you guys on the next one. Chip and Jeff. Oh.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.